Hello Hoover families, this is Amy Myers from the Guidance Office, and I'm going to share with you a recorded version of the presentation we hosted last night, October 1st, about preparing your senior for whatever path may lie ahead of them after Hoover. So here we go. When families walked in, they were able to pick up various materials. One of them is this packet, and seniors all have a copy of this packet. And the other item was a handout of the PowerPoint. So here we go. In case you don't know who your assigned counselor is or you're newer to Hoover, here's our caseload breakdown. We do stay with the same families all 4 years of high school to help build that relationship with the student and the families, especially as we get to senior year like this, where we might have to help seniors not just write letters of recommendation, but be there for them in some really stressful times and guide them through that. So here is our breakdown, and then we also are on a variety of social media platforms. We know that sometimes parents feel inundated with information from the schools, and so recently, you may be getting some emails from me, amy.myers at North Canton Schools. We try to send an email out about once a month by grade level to our families of anything that's important from guidance that they should be doing. But in addition to that, we use Parent Square from time to time. And then we have all of these social media platforms that we push out additional information on. And we don't always share those items with you via email or Parent Square because who needs all of those notifications? So we would like for you to stay connected with us in a way that's meaningful for you by using one of these things here on the screen. Again, what people picked up tonight, it would have been the senior packet that seniors received in their English class. When we did a presentation a little bit ago, a copy of the presentation, and then we had some forms available, but we can have your student pick those up, or they may already have them as well. Here's an overview of the topics that were discussed last night, and this is what we're going to talk about today in this recording. So, in the senior packet that they received in English class, and I'll talk more about that in a minute, but there is a page, it's the 4th page in the packet, and if I'm a parent or a student, I'm ripping this page out because it has all the important dates for the year for a senior. There's a couple of things that are to be determined, but by and large, if you needed something, graduation, prom, when AP exams are, when senior awards is, semester exams, it's all on that page. Here are some highlights of those dates and some things that are relevant to this conversation today. So next week we are hosting a financial aid meeting with the University of Akron at Hoover Hall from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. We will also have 2 virtual financial aid meeting opportunities coming up, I believe in November, hosted by Kent State's financial aid office. So I'll get that information out to you when it's available. There are some other dates in here. I'll draw your attention to November 1st. That predominantly is the first college application deadline that many of our students are aiming for in Ohio and beyond. So when we are advising our seniors, we're generally telling them, you're probably shooting for an 11/1 deadline. Sometimes we'll dig into those colleges they're looking at and look a little bit deeper to see if maybe they have a December deadline, a February deadline, and that's really on students to know what their deadlines are. But after 11/1 comes and goes, then we get into the next round of those bigger application deadlines, as I mentioned, maybe in December. Then you would hear something about a priority deadline for the FAFSA, and those usually hit sometime between December and February. But the FAFSA, it is open now, so if anybody wanted to hop on that now and get it done, you most definitely can, and you will be filling out the FAFSA every year of college. As I mentioned, the senior English classroom presentations, every year counselors go into the English classes and we talk about everything they need to do to get ready for life after Hoover, whether that is a career path, a military path, or a college path. So we give out that packet that I showed you, we give them a copy of their transcript and their graduation checklist, And we review very quickly grad requirements because by this stage everybody should know what they need and be on track. We talk about all the testing requirements, we talk about SEALs, and then we do spend some time talking about an honors diploma as well, just so that they know, are they on track for an honors diploma or not. And by the time that they have their senior interview with us, your senior should know if they're on track for that. So we do the English presentations in early September. We follow those up with one-on-one 20-minute interviews with each of our seniors on our caseloads to figure out what their path is, where they're going, and how we can fill the gaps or help them or relieve some of their stress. So one thing that we are very passionate about is promoting careers. So we recognize that not all seniors are going to be college bound, and frankly they shouldn't, because not everybody wants to do that. And we are in an age where, you know, all of these people are retiring from the trades and careers, and there isn't that supply of new people to fill those roles. So seniors, if they are not thrilled with the idea of going to college or having college debt, I understand. We try to encourage them to look at career paths instead. And there are many in our region that are in high demand, and that's what you see on the screen here. I also want to highlight the fact that each year at Hoover we have something called an opportunity fair, which is essentially a career fair. This year it's going to be March 18th. We have all of our juniors and seniors go to this event. It's at school during the school day. We also invite many of our local high schools and their seniors and juniors to this event, because we generally will have over 80 plus agencies, companies, employers there ready to meet with, interview, and possibly hire juniors and seniors on the spot for jobs. And we know that sometimes these companies our seniors can get in with will pay for college after a year or two or whatever of working as one of the benefits. So this is a path that I think our seniors, as they get more savvy, they are starting to be more attentive to, and I think it's a great opportunity and a great fit for a number of them. So we know that this is a valuable path, and we actually have someone here at school that can work with our students in a more one-on-one fashion if a career path is where they're headed, and his name is Kevin Hart. Kevin is our work-based learning coordinator. He is here once, sometimes twice a week. He is shared with other local high schools like Lake, Glen Oak, and Jackson. And he is our guy that has all those network feelers out there. So if someone comes down and says, I'm interested in this path or this path, he's able to advise them a little bit and then help them pursue those next steps, as are we as their counselors. But sometimes we're able to lean on Kevin for some more finite details that maybe we don't have access to, or people that we don't have access to, and he does. In addition to that, all these websites on this page are great resources for our families if they're serious about looking into the trades or a career path instead of the traditional college path. We also know that a number of our students are interested or maybe thinking about the military. This is a very serious commitment, but it's one that can come with many rewards and opportunities. So we know that there's ROTC, there's reserves, there's just straight enlisting, and we have military visits at Hoover often. Sometimes they're in the lunchroom, occasionally they're in a classroom presenting, and so for the right student, this could be the right path for them. And no matter what they're thinking, our job as a school counselor is to make sure, do you have the information you need? Do you know what step to take next? And how can we help fill in those blanks? If your child is really interested in the military and they're not already hooked up with a branch or a recruiter, or they have someone in their life that is already affiliated where they can just talk to them, let us know, let their counselor know so that we can get them hooked up with the right individuals. We also have military folks on staff here, some of them in the reserves, some of them retired military, and so hooking them up with those educators might be a great place to begin a conversation as well. So we know that most of our seniors here at Hoover will go to college. And throughout the high school experience, these are some of the questions that they might be thinking about, mom and dad, you might be thinking about. And so now that we're here and it's happening, we have to really start figuring things out. School Links is our college and career prep platform that any student can use, grades 9 to 12, and parents can use it as well. Parents, you have an account already there. You just have to log in with your Gmail and then click Forgot Password. Or if you don't have a Gmail account, you would go to the School Links login page and click Forgot Password and go through reset process that way. So this is our number one resource for students to do this research that they need to do. But School Links is also the vehicle that we're using in the college application process. It replaced Naviance. That may sound familiar to you. And the School Links is the vehicle for letters of rec, transcripts, and any other items that might need to get to a college from us, the school. We use that as our vehicle. So your senior, they could be in this place right now and feeling very overwhelmed. And I know, students can be moody, grumpy, not very talkative with their parents when it comes to things like this. And that may be because ultimately they're a bit fearful or scared because they feel unsure, or they're not sure what you will say or think about those plans that they have. No matter where your senior is in this process, it's right where they're supposed to be. And they need a lot of encouragement, they need a lot of guidance, and they need a lot of reassurance that, hey, it's going to be okay. Maybe we don't have all the answers right now, but we can find those answers, and or it will all work out the way it's supposed to be. So they are balancing a lot. They are balancing their Hoover senior year, their athletics if they're playing sports, their job if they're working outside of school, and then they have this wildly difficult chore of trying to figure all this stuff out and get it done. And it's a huge responsibility. So I ask you to have some grace with your seniors, give them space, but also, yes, hold them accountable and make it as fun or enjoyable as you can. We know it's going to be stressful. We know you might have some difficult conversations at home. We know you might have to let them down on some things like financial aid or that idea of going to their dream school that's out of state. We know how difficult those conversations can be. And so making sure that you provide time and space and comfort to help them, but also understanding that, you guys will make it through, and we as counselors are here to help with that. But anyway, I just know it can be stressful for parents and students, and that really was my point. If we can give each other grace, that's the goal. So briefly, School Links, I mentioned that this is our new platform. These are some of the things that students can do, grades 9 to 12 in there. Some of our students might be taking the ACT again this year as a senior, so it has really good ACT prep inside, and it has all of these other features and more. So when it comes time to do that scholarship research, please, please, please use School Links because the database in there is fantastic. You can pause this and read this a little bit more if you would like. College visits at Hoover. School Links also helps organize all of our college visit information. We have representatives come to Hoover every fall, and it isn't just for them to get out here and share freebies with our students, though our kids do love the freebies. It's an opportunity for seniors to come down, visit with the reps, somebody from that university that's potentially lived on campus, attended school there, now they work there. They are a local expert here to talk with your kids on concerns, questions, or anything they might need. Sometimes these reps could hand them a promo code for a free application. Sometimes these reps can help students get a job on campus if they end up attending there. Sometimes these reps also have scholarship money that's available that they're able to award to students who they encounter through their travels on the road that they just feel really strongly about and they want that student there. So Those are all wonderful reasons for your seniors to come down. They would see who's coming to Hoover using school links and register for the visit that way. Okay, so this is a big screen. There's a lot going on here. Some of this will break down a little bit more. When we go into those senior English classes, one of the first things we do is talk about terminology and lingo and making sure that they know what these words mean. So when students are applying to college, are you applying for your undergraduate or your graduate? And are you doing an early decision, early action, etc.? So let's break this down for you guys, parents. Early decision at some colleges could be binding. And binding is just what it sounds like. Binding means you have to go there if you're admitted under a binding application. Not every college has binding. If a student is passionate about a school and a family 100%, no matter what barrier may be in place, you are going there, okay, maybe you want to apply binding. If you are admitted, yes, you must go. You can only apply to one school that is binding. And we encourage our seniors just to make sure they are reading the fine print of their applications in the Common App or on the school's website, wherever they are applying. Then you have early action, and early action typically is associated with the merit scholarship deadlines. So that 11-1 deadline I mentioned usually is that early action application deadline. And most colleges will have a deadline like that, and that's why we promote 11-1 so heavily, because 11-1 usually is that school's deadline for merit aid. And then rolling admission or regular decision is just, hey, it's another deadline, and or they don't have a deadline, and you may miss out on merit scholarships if you go that route. We encourage our seniors, once they kind of have a sense of, well, these are my timelines to make, these are my deadlines, to make a timeline for themselves. So they know, if this is my deadline, what do I need to do and when to get there and get there on time. We always recommend that students are double checking everything before they hit submit, but we will break more of that down. So in our presentations with seniors, we sort of ask some of these questions to the group in English classes just to gauge their familiarity and where they're at. Have you applied to college or not? Great. How are you applying? Online, on the school's website, or on the Common App? Do you know what your deadlines are? And things like that. I was looking for a tissue. I'll have to get some. We talk about test optional decisions, completing the FAFSA, then doing their scholarship research, and so on. So let's dive deeper. College applications today typically require the things you see on the screen. The application itself, this can be online or in the Common App. Usually, yes, there's money that you have to pay along with the application, which is why it behooves students to check admission websites, to check social media for the college, or to come down to these visits where you might get a promo code. Sometimes those promo codes are sitting in your email too. Making sure that they are aware of which application type they're choosing, early decision or early action. Understanding if the essay is required, recommended, or optional, and what they choose to do with that. Some majors, the more demanding majors or performing art majors, sometimes they have a portfolio or an audition that's required, which can really add a whole nother layer of stress to your senior, because that's a separate process, usually a separate website, separate deadlines, and it's a lot. So if they're pursuing the fine arts, performing arts, or something music related, that's a lot, and we feel for you guys if that fits you. Please let us know how we can help. College applications today, number 2, they also are going to require a transcript. Occasionally letters of rec. They're not always required. Most of the time they're optional, but for some of those more competitive schools they may be required. And then test scores and trying to make that decision, am I sending my score to this school, maybe not this school, and making sure you're actually getting your scores there. So that's an overview, and now we're going to go in a little bit deeper. So college applications, they have to apply typically online, and they're either applying on the college's admissions website or the Common App. No way is better than the other. They're both equally the same. Some colleges today are only accepting the Common App, and they've done away with their own online application. If you're applying to 4, 5, 6 or so schools and up, the Common App is what you should do. If you're applying to 1 or 2 schools only, then I would recommend that you apply on their website because that might be more efficient for you. The Common App is just meant to allow a student fill out that application one time and then send it to multiple schools. So it can be a time saver if you're applying to a lot of colleges. Some of our students are looking at different schools, maybe on the coast, out of state, some private or elite like Ivy schools, and sometimes those schools even have other hoops to jump through in addition to these typical admissions applications. They might have other things like, you may have heard of the SUNY or the Coalition app, and there's other things that live out there that they might have to do, and they would find all that info on the admissions websites. But it's a minority of students that have to actually engage with those. Next, we have our transcript release form here. So parents, we have a green transcript release form that all of the seniors were given during English presentations and interviews. We just want this form turned in at one time during the year, and that parent, it's your way of giving us permission as a school to share your son or daughter's academic record. So we ask for a parent signature on this and a student signature, and we would like this turned in just one time so we have parents' permission to send those things out. Test optional decision. So this is something that some students really have a struggle with trying to figure out what to do. It used to be that colleges required a test score as part of the application, and then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, students, as you may recall, did not have access all the time to quality education. It just was a very difficult time. And they didn't always have access to testing for the ACT, for example, because everything was just shut down. So because of that, colleges really started to do test optional policies for that reason, where they didn't require a test. And you can go down that whole philosophical debate of what does a score really represent about a student anyway, and was that fair to begin with, and so on. Well, now colleges are starting to require test scores again. We're starting to see that trend reverse, and Ohio State is one of them that flipped it this year, where they're requiring test scores again. So students might say, I really want to apply to a college and I'm worried about getting in with my ACT, and thankfully they're still test optional. I am not sending my score there. But then they may think, at an Akron or a Kent, that ACT of 22 or whatever, it might be good enough to get me in and get me some scholarships, so I'm going to send it to those schools. And so seniors now have to be a bit more strategic about where they're sending their scores if they don't require them. So that's a conversation that we try to have with the seniors, but parents, it might be wise for you to engage with them on that as well. Colleges will typically require the ACT score to come directly from the ACT testing agency. So even if it was listed on the transcript, which it is not, colleges don't always accept ACT scores off the high school transcript. So this is another requirement on your student's plate that we've made them aware of, that you need to get into your ACT account. You need to make sure that you already sent your previous ACTs or the one you wanted to go. And if you haven't, you need to get in there and send those scores to your institutions like now. An ACT will charge you for that if you don't list them as score recipients before the actual test. If you do it before an ACT test in the ACT account, it's free. But if you do it after the test has been scored, then they're going to charge you. It's unfair. I know. I hate all these fees that our kids have to incur. It is wrong. But it's something that's in place. Here are those upcoming ACT dates. I am double checking myself. Yes. So your student may be thinking about taking the ACT again, and one of the things they might be worried about is, will the score get back in time for the college deadline? And that is something you should be worried about and you want to be paying attention to and thinking about. Last night at the presentation, some parents were like, well, what if they sign up for that October 18th ACT? They have an 11/1 deadline. Well, colleges still use that October ACT for admission or for scholarships. And my response is one of, that depends on the college. And you're really at the college's mercy as to what they will do. Some of them will use it for admission purposes, sure, but they won't all take that ACT score and then use it as part of the scholarship offer. So if that's a detail that you need to know, then you would be well advised to either call that admissions office and ask that question, or email their admissions office and ask that question, because you want to make sure that you have the right information from each college regarding an upcoming ACT, an application deadline, and whether or not they'll use it for admission and or merit aid. We make sure our seniors know how school links is necessary in the application process. If your student is applying to college using the Common App, they do need to sync their Common App to school links. In our senior interviews, we would help seniors do this step. But if they are in a place where that hasn't been done yet and they need help, we want them to come down and we will help them do that. If they've applied directly on a college's website, then they would simply add into school links where they applied. But if they need help with this step, they can come down to guidance and any counselor can help them with this. But that is how we know where to send their transcripts. So it's a step that must be done. They would also then use school links to request letters of recommendation from staff members here at Hoover. If they are choosing to have someone outside of Hoover serve as a recommender, they have two ways to get the letter there. If they're using the Common App, they would invite an external person from Hoover through the Common App as a recommender. If they are not using the Common App and they're applying online on a college's website and they're having their pastor, their manager, a coach from outside of Hoover write a letter for them, then that person should email their letter directly to the admissions office at that college. There is a brag sheet in school links that our students are encouraged to complete if they're asking for a letter of rec from an internal staff member, which is their way of showcasing and highlighting all of the wonderful things that they've done so that we can integrate those things into the letter. But then we have other questions on there too. We ask about hardships. We ask about, how do you know that this was the major you wanted and when? We ask about traveling and maybe any community service. And so we're pulling some of those things into the letter too to show how well-rounded they are and to really put their best foot forward in our letter as well. Letters of rec, not every school requires them. Sometimes they're optional. It's up to the student in that case if they want to send it or not. Etiquette says that you should ask the adult before just sending the request via school link. So, having a conversation at minimum, maybe an email to say, hey, would you be willing to write a letter for me? Sometimes students just need help with the right words, and so maybe rehearsing that with them at home is okay. Once they have confirmation that, yes, I will write you this letter, then they would put that request in school links, but if they need help with that step, please let us know and we'll help them. Oh yeah, 2 weeks is preferred for sure before a deadline if possible. Once your applications are submitted and you can feel like, okay, I've done all that work, now what? What is next? Well, you have to start thinking about financial aid and enter the FAFSA. So the free application for federal student aid. That opens October 1st annually. This year, they opened it a little bit early, so it opened, I think, last week sometime. Every year of college, your student will complete the FAFSA. They create an account on FAFSA.gov. At least one parent should create an account as well. The 26-27 FAFSA is what they will be completing, and it will be under their account on the FAFSA website. Make sure, parents, if you need help with this, like I said, we do have our financial aid meeting next week, October, I want to say the 7th, looking at my notes. Yes, October 7th from 6 to 7:30 in Hoover Hall, and then, as I mentioned earlier, there will be virtual financial aid meetings as well in November. The sooner you get the FAFSA done, the better. And just remember, you'll do that every year of college. Once the FAFSA is done, I generally advise my students, okay, now you can kick that scholarship research into high gear, and we would tell them to use school links for that. But Mrs. Einen's presentation will focus a lot on scholarship research, so I'm going to deliberately bypass that for now. Some of our students feel called to do athletics in college, and that is a wonderful testament to their passion for the sport. But it is a grueling life being a college athlete. It is very challenging. Sometimes we have students go and they are college athletes that first year and they get totally burned out. So offering your student a lot of support and just encouraging them, I think, is the best thing you can do as a parent. We know that sometimes college athletes, this might mean that they're looking at smaller schools and therefore more expensive schools. And if I could advise you one thing, let them try. Let them go after it. Let them try. Because wait until that financial aid package comes out in the spring before you as a family make that choice of, no, we can't do it, or, so let's see what that bottom dollar is first. College athletes, by now, our seniors, when we met with them for interviews, they told us if they were thinking about this or not. And if that changes, just let us know. Students will need to register with NCAA or NAIA, whichever clearinghouse that college belongs to. Once they register, we have to send their transcripts into that clearinghouse. So it's something that we work closely with our athletes on, but we really need to know. And then students, you need to make sure that you've registered with the clearinghouse. You need to. And don't be surprised, but there's a fee to do that. I know. Not from Hoover, of course, but NCAA will charge a fee to register your child for the clearinghouse. Another point that will come up in the college application process is, hey, I've got some college credits under my belt, or I've got nice AP scores. What do I do with those? How do I get them there? This particular handout is in the packet that they received in English, and we'll actually give it to your seniors again at graduation rehearsal. I mean, they'll get this multiple times throughout the year. The students have to send their college transcripts to the institution they know that they're going to, if it's different from where they took that credit. We cannot do that. The student has to do that. Some colleges might say they want the transcript now as part of the admission process if they've earned college credit, but most of them are pretty laid back in this regard. On the Common App, the students are self-reporting the college credit they've earned anyway, what institution they earned it at, the credit value, and the grades. Same with AP test scores. They're self-reporting that in the Common App anyway. Generally, we advise our students that, okay, don't feel like you have to do this now. Once you've decided where you are going for college, and that could be a decision you make in the spring, maybe then is the better time for you to send your college transcript and your AP score report. But if you want to get very technical about it, you may encourage your student to wait until all of their grades for their college classes have posted in the spring, and wait until those AP scores are posted in mid-July, and then go through the steps of sending them in late July, early August. Most of the time, colleges are fine with that. But as you navigate the admissions process and review application details, you want to be on the lookout as to if those colleges require these college transcripts now and the AP score reports now, or if you can wait. If you have a child that's on a 504 or an IEP, these are supports that may be able to transfer to your senior's college or university. There's a process that they have to follow to get those supports to transfer at each college, and they might call that process something different at each college. They may call the office that you work with something different at each office, but the most important takeaway here is that your senior, once they've decided where they're going, they are the ones that have to initiate this process and manage it not just every year, sometimes every semester of college, to get those accommodations and supports approved by their college. So once you know for sure where you're going, if this 504 or IEP thing applies to you, then that would be the time to start thinking and researching this more seriously. But this is just something for you to be aware of. Okay, that's my part of the presentation, and then Mrs. Einen will talk to you about financial aid and scholarship information for our seniors as well. If you need anything, my biggest piece of advice is to please reach out to us as your assigned school counselors. We are here to help you, and we navigate this every fall. We stay up on all the details as much as we can, and we know that this is an overwhelming time for you and your seniors. So please take advantage of asking us for help and filling in those blanks. Next week, and if you're watching this, I know time may be different, and when I say next week, specifically I mean October 6th through the 9th. In the guidance office, we're hosting like open walk-in hours for seniors. Any senior can come down with their Chromebook, and they can work in our conference room during one of their free periods and get those college apps done, do the scholarship research, get some things moving, ask us for advice. Counselors will be going in to check in with any senior who's in there, regardless if they're my caseload or not, just to say, how are you doing and what can we do to help? So anyway, if you have questions, please reach out, and thanks so much for watching.